Hello, my name is Nick. My tour of Kazakhstan continues. The day before, Zach and Tim invited me to the yurt village. I was so excited about this idea. I guess that many discoveries await me in that place, and they were related to the traditions and customs that had been passed down to modern Kazakhs from the depths of the centuries, which, judging by these stories of my friends, they carefully tried to preserve. So this trip to the Middle Ages gave me the opportunity to delve into the original culture of the Kazakhs in many details and foreshadowed a lot of impressions for me.
If you go there, you'll actually experience really authentic Kazakh lifestyle. They have the yurts built up, so you can walk in, check it out. They're gonna have a costume show there for you, explaining different traditions of Kazakh people. Then they're gonna have games like horse games they had, where you'll see how they were fighting on horses and bow and arrow and all that stuff.
I understood that this was all just part of an entertaining show performed specially for the guests of the yurt village, but I really wanted to become a participant of this show.
And then there's cooking classes as well, in traditional Kazakh cuisine. So yeah, definitely check those two places out.
Well, given their attachment to their roots, it would be nice to experience all the delights of the Kazakh way of life, in order to then take into account all the nuances of the Kazakh way of life. I thought impatiently, waiting for these vivid emotions and impressions. It was especially interesting to try the role of a jigit.
We will invite you to ethnic village, where you can see our customs, our traditions. You'll get a real taste of Kazakh everyday life, and you'll find out how our jigits win a girl's heart and about traditional matchmaking.
Nick, come out. We are waiting for you. So, on a sunny summer day, my friends and I left the city. Our path was along a large highway. Outside the car window, I watched the landscape changing from high-rise urban buildings to vast horizons. So we drove along several dozen miles. It's amazing how quickly the sense of time is lost here. You have only got to get away from the city, and you can immediately find yourself in the land of the endless steppe and pristine nature. No sooner had my friends and I climbed a small hill than a valley spread out in front of me, with white tents could be seen. It was a fabulous oasis, with rich vegetation amidst the mountains. A soothingly beautiful melody could be heard from there. As we approached the place, we could see the curling smoke, and I realized that we were in the vicinity of the village. The atmosphere in this fairy tale world was festive. I saw a real Oriental bazaar, where merchants briskly sold various souvenirs and decorations, and professional craftsmen and artisans invited guests to take part in various workshops, so everyone could learn the intricacies of the ancient craft, making various souvenirs out of wood, silver, clay, and to participate in the cooking of traditional Kazakh dishes that could be tasted later. This day turned out to be very informative for me. Any detail of that terrain carried the spirit of eras past, providing all visitors with the opportunity to plunge into the picturesque world of the ancient Nomads, where horsemen with iron armor on pierced their targets with an arrow at a full gallop, imitating the formidable hordes of warriors. The main duty of the nomadic warriors was the mastery of the spear and bow. Watching the dramatization, I was sort of transported to several centuries into the past, to those times where intertribal strife, regular climatic stresses, gave rise to an atmosphere of incessant total war on the steppe.
If you go a little bit back in Kazakhstan, these people are what is called, or the origin of being, nomad culture. It is their culture, what is happening today, and it is going to continue this way for a long time. Modernization did not mean that they forgot their roots, where they come from.
Historically, nomads have been and remain a part of the Kazakh culture. The life of modern nomads in the present is measured. However, in ancient times, they had to move through the steppe expanses, overcoming considerable distances, from summer pastures to winter ones, and vice versa.
You know, Kazakhstan goes back thousands and thousands of years to prehistory. It's one of the oldest places in the world. So what we know now, the names that we see, that we hear, Al-Farabi, Abai, all these names, they're very recent. Kazakhstan history is much older than that, much, much older than the recent names. Unfortunately, those people's names have been lost. Those musicians, those poets, we don't know who they are anymore. They've been lost to history.
Now, let me tell you a little history about ancient Kazakhstan. For a long time, the territory of modern Kazakhstan was the center of the ethnogenesis of the Turkic people. For many centuries, the boundless steppe, as the most convenient corridor from Europe to Asia, attracted Iranian-speaking and Turkic-speaking nomads, Scythians, Sarmatians, Huns, Khazars, and Kumans. In order to repel the raids of foreigners, the ancient tribes, the ancestors of the Kazakhs, that lived in the territory of modern Kazakhstan had to act like warriors and be ready to fight at any time, anywhere. Nomads were not only excellent hunters, but also high-class fighters. They mastered archery and could strike without warning. In the heat of battle, they suddenly attacked the enemy, suppressing him with their mobility and ferocity. Their ability to appear out of nowhere made them incredibly dangerous opponents that seemed impossible to defeat. In these lands, the survival depended directly on the expansion of living spaces. There was a fierce struggle for these pastures. In search of feed for livestock, they had to constantly roam, and horses were an integral companion to the nomads in this matter.
The country is very big. Kazakhstan is the 9th biggest country when you look at how many square meters it is in the world. In such a big country, in the old days, surely the transportation was done by horses. And now you need to have a car to move from one place to another place, or you can use the train, or you can use the plane. But in the old days, we did not have any of these. And in between the cities, the distance is pretty big.
Whenever we explain to people what Kazakhstan is like, and traditionally where they came from, we always talk about how they're like herds people. Always horses are a part of their culture and in their past. Horses are a part of moving around. It was the main mode of transportation many years ago.
I think one very, very striking example is that Kazakh people have domesticated horses for more than 6,000 years.
It was a bit of a shock to me that the horses were firstly domesticated here in Kazakhstan about 4,000 years ago. And, you know, it's not surprising because horse seems to be such a central piece in the life of Kazakh people.
All Kazakhs, regardless of gender and age, were excellent riders. During the performances, riders dexterously pranced, showing the audience various tricks. Not only would they get up, they also tumbled, rolled over, threw themselves under the horse's hooves. So one of the horsemen pushed off the ground and hung onto the stirrup, and for a split second, then he was already back in the saddle.
And to today, the horse riding is very important. Almost everybody, including the small young people, they know how to ride a horse.
Now I understand what Timur meant when he told me how to become a real Jigit. Nomads began to learn riding at an early age. Then, when a child would sit in the saddle confidently, he was taught another skill, horseback hunting. Next, there were martial arts. Thus, when the Jigit came of age, he would be a very strong rider, skillfully able to control the horse, and could shoot a bow at full gallop, and fight with sabers. The real exams were the military campaigns. So without this animal, the nomads could not imagine their existence in the steppe. Even now, horse meat remains an important part of the Kazakh diet.
About horses in Kazakhstan, I have never heard that even the horse meat can be eaten.
Like, I mean, they eat it, they make milk out of it. You can try it. You go to the one of the key tourist attractions.
It's very interesting, in fact. And when I came, I was invited to a restaurant, and there was a kind of unpleasant sausage on the table. It was not good looking. And I asked my wife, what is it? He said it's a homemade sausage from horse meat. I said, do you eat horse here? She said, yes, it's a, you can say it in Russian delicatessen. It's something very respected food, and it is a homemade sausage. And I tried that meat. I can say that, wow. You call it kaze, and now it's become one of my favorite Kazakh food. And after that, my father came to Kazakhstan. I just gave him this food. I said, what's that? I said, Father, just taste once. You will never forget the taste. I said, come on. I said, try. He said, what is it? I said, have it. So he just had. He said, not bad. Is it cow? I said, no. Is it lamb? I said, no. I said, horse. Huh? Horse? How is it? Do you eat horse here? Oh my God, no. And I said, and after some time he said, but by the way, Oren, it was very tasty. So if you don't mind, next time if you go to bazaar, get a little bit for me, we can have it in the morning together. So that was another experience which I had with this kaze, which is homemade sausage. My father loved it, my mother loved it.
At the first sight, to think or to hear that you are eating horse meat, it is a bit of a shock. But I think it tastes very nice. And I had a lot of people who came to visit me here, and I made them try without actually telling them that it was a horse meat. And once they ate, they said it tasted good, and only afterwards I told them that it was the horse meat. And I think it's very healthy. As long as we are not eating the animals that we are riding, there is no problem for me.
Wow.
Amazing, yeah?
Yeah.
What is that over there?
Oh, that means the yurts.
Yurts.
Yeah, the nomads used to live there.
You know, we have something like this in America. We call them teepees.
Oh, yeah. That's like teepees there.
Teepees, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to live in them.
Mm-hmm.
Only ours are like cones, yeah?
Oh, yeah, but the yurts are round.
Oh, yeah, ours
Yeah,
are
they're
like
round.
a cone.
Uh-huh.
Can we go inside?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
See you.
The peculiarities of the everyday life of nomads left an imprint on their traditional abode, the yurt. What was the dwelling of Kazakhs like?
They used to live in the tents, which, as we already said, they are called yurtas, and they moved from one place to another place. It used to come from their nomad times when they were traveling from one place to another. Obviously, they had no time to build houses, so they were living in a place called yurta. And inside that, basically, that's where they live.
And it's basically something that can be assembled quite quickly and disassembled quite quickly as well. It's made up of a number of wooden poles to make up a structure. And then you put 3 layers on it. And I think that the external layer is made of wool. They're pretty sturdy, and they can hold temperatures.
All the floors and all inside the walls, they are covered by carpets. And basically they eat and sleep in there. And when it was about time, they used to put everything together, and then they moved from one place to another place. There is these days a lot of constructions, and it is almost a tradition to give the shape of a yurta so that the history is continued somehow even in the modern buildings.
The yurt consists of a kirigir, which is like a wooden lattice, a frame. Outside, these lattices were lined with reed mats, and over the mats, they were covered with felt. At the top is the dome of the yurt, called the shanirak, that has the form of a cross, inscribed in a circle. The shanirak served as a window for illumination of the house, and it was also intended for the release of smoke from the hearth. The vault of the yurt was decorated with hanging carpets, stripes, fringes, ribbons, and tassels of multicolored woolen threads. The entrance to the yurt, usually facing south, has the shape of a rectangle. Double doorways were often carved. The decoration of the yurt and the yurt itself were fully adapted to the semi-nomadic lifestyle of the Kazakhs. Felt covers were fastened to the body with ropes and patterned ribbons called ildo. The space at the door was called a bosaga. To the right of the bosaga was the bed, separated by a curtain called a shimildik. I wish we could put this yurt somewhere in the prairies of Texas. It's beautiful. Well, never mind. Let's continue. To the right of the entrance, there were utensils and dishes. And to the left, a horse harness. The center of the yurt, the oshak, served as a place for cooking and heating in cold weather. There are yurts that were erected specifically for guests, where a festive table was laid during a toy or a feast. The size of the yurt depended on the number of wings, or kanats, of the kirigye. The yurt, consisting of 12 wings, had an area of 100 to 120 square meters. Talking about the life of Kazakhs, one cannot fail to see the customs and traditions of this people. I'd like to tell you about the peculiarities of Kazakh hospitality.
I have many Kazakh friends and have been talking with them, I've been meeting them and different occasions, and you can say that you can feel when you go to Kazakh family, you can feel that, yeah, I have come to a Kazakh family. They are so much guest-oriented, they are so much welcomed, and basically it's touching.
Here, guests are especially welcomed by Kazakhs. It was in one of the guest yurts that a feast was taking place, where we were invited to the konak asi, the Kazakh custom of hospitality, according to which it is customary to welcome guests and treat them with the most delicious dishes and desserts as a sign of generosity. At the threshold, we were met by a girl saying "Hayırlı kun," inviting us to the table.
Okay.
Before entering the yurt, I noticed a huge amount of shoes left behind the door. In America, people normally enter the house with their shoes on. It's no surprise that Kazakhs take off their street shoes when entering a house. They like to cover the floor with carpets. And although the weather was excellent, there was no mud or slush. I still had to take off my shoes. So, entering the yurt, I saw a table, which was in the middle of the yurt. On the floor, the participants of the feast were children, sitting cross-legged and knees pressed to the floor, forming groups of 4 or 5 people. Opposite to the entrance was the place of honor in the yurt, the tour. Welcome. As my friends explained to me, this place was intended for the most honored guest, the aksakal. The aksakal among Kazakhs is the elder, the head of the clan. Aksakal literally means white beard. Ak means white and sakal means beard. Please come to the place of honor. The head of the clan of the Kazakh family is the most revered person. From infancy, children learned the principle of respectful treatment of elder people in the family. Amazing.
I would say too that to really understand the role that family plays in culture here, for me it's just so amazing how close family is and how much they're a part of everything that they do. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to be invited into that and to get to know the families and to even understand the role that elders play in the role of a family and respecting the older culture, the older generations, and what they might have to impart not just into your life, but the lives of everyone that, of their families and the young people that all live here. I think it's really important.
The aksakal took his place of honor. I asked a friend, who are all these people? And Timur replied to me that they were guests, konak. A welcoming host should offer everyone who comes to his house a treat, dam tatteru. This is how the host demonstrates respect for his guests.
There's many Kazakh traditions. I know one Kazakh tradition is to, when you have a guest, you feed the guest very, very well. In fact, I've been to many Kazakh weddings and social events, and I'm amazed at how much food is served and how generous and how much fun people have. It's really great to see an event like this where people are going all out. And that's very traditional Kazakh in my mind.
The Kazakh Dastarkhan and guests are inseparable concepts. The host may not even know his guests, but he has the opportunity to get to know them at the table, which is called the Dastarkhan.
The things which I think about the hospitality of Kazakh people, when they lay the table for you, they call it Dastarkhan. They do it by the deep love. Как на русском говорят душа. You can feel the soul on the table. And как называется, открытая душа. It's open soul, and they don't feel greedy. And when they invite guests, they said the guest is people from God, and they really serve you like a king.
Can I try it?
Yeah, of course.
I must say that the owner's generosity knew no limits. The table was full of food. Half of New Jersey could be fed with its Dastarkhan. Of course, it struck me a lot. I have not seen this anywhere else.
Kazakh people really love food. Not even just their own food. I think that's why there's so many cuisines available here in Almaty especially. Everything's about food, and lots of food. There's always a lot of food if you go visit someone, go to their home. Even if it's midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, they will lay out a whole spread of food, of everything imaginable that you can think of. All the food is very delicious too, but they definitely have a lot of food in their culture.
According to Kazakh traditions, as a guest, I had to please the hospitable host with eating and drinking everything that was offered to me. Everything that is served on the table was absolutely delicious. I especially remember the kurdak. This is a traditional dish of the Kazakh cuisine, made of mutton and offal with potatoes and onions.
He wants to know where I'm from.
Where am I from? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm from America.
What's your name?
My name is Nick.
Nicholas. Nicholas.
Wow, that was so good. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Yeah, so delicious. I'm so full. So full. Eventually, I was fed enough by these hospitable people. So, Timur, what are we going to do next? Where are we going?
No. We shouldn't leave before the oldest one leaves.
Really?
Sit here, yeah.
Okay, but
The main meal is coming.
what do you mean main meal? As it turned out, what our hospitable hosts treated us to was called an
It
appetizer.
was a snack only.
It's a snack?
Yeah.
No, it's not a snack. No, I'm so full. And in the meantime, the most important thing was waiting for us. The main part of the meal, the serving of the prestigious yet dish. Bishparmak.
Yeah.
I had bishparmak last time.
I know.
Bishparmak is a boiled meat with dough and broth called sorpa. This is the very dish that I tried on the first day when I arrived here.
Bishparmak is a very tasty dish. Meat, onions, and noodles is basically the way you could explain it. I've actually only ever had it at friends' homes. I've never gotten it at a restaurant, but most of the time, and it's a dish that you don't actually start, or you don't finish the dish until your last guest arrives. So everything is cooked. We learned this. We were the last ones to show up at a friend's house, and we waited a while before we ate because we didn't realize they were waiting for the last people to get there to finish cooking the dish. And then you serve it on a really big platter.
A large dish with bishparmak was placed in the middle of the table. The most honored guest was presented with the head of the ram. I was absolutely shocked by what I saw.
That's sheep's head. Wow. Are you shocked?
I remember I was in the village. In the morning, when I had a breakfast, they brought me a big head of a sheep. In fact, in Iran, we have the same food. And I asked mom, he said, this is a respect to you, but I was very young. They had elder people around me, and they give me that head. And it was I was feeling so shy that we have elder people in the table and they give it to me. And you know, it is really respected. And I really felt so good that I was welcome in the family. And I can say that the culture is alive here. And I don't know, I have been loving this country.
Let's ask for the bata, the blessing. Amen. Before proceeding to the main course, the elder recited the traditional bata, a blessing of wishes of success in various endeavors. The speaker asked for mercy and prosperity for those who were sitting at the table. This custom is considered an essential element of almost any ritual among the Kazakhs. Every Kazakh tries to get the blessing for his children from distinguished guests. The bata was pronounced with the raising of palms towards the face. After the blessing that ended with the word Amen, the elder carefully began to separate the meat from the skull. I was solemnly handed a piece of meat with the words, "The Kazakhs have such tradition. The guest should taste the head of the ram." I wonder if I can skip this part of the ritual, I thought, glancing furtively at this piece of meat, since the consumption of body parts of this animal was not a part of my plans. But apparently, I cannot escape this. Did you like it?
Yes, okay.
It is believed that meat from the head is so healthy that it can even prolong your life. And I have to say, it was very soft. Then the distinguished guest continued to cut off pieces of meat from the head, distributing them to everyone present. The nose went to the one who sat at the right of the elder, as a wish of flair. The bone with the eye socket was offered to the one who was sitting on the left, to be more vigilant. The elder kept a part of his head with the brains for himself, in order to remain wise. As for the main dish, bishbarmak, it also has a certain ritual of serving. This is in the distribution of the meat, from various parts of the cooked ram to the guests. This jambas is for our dear foreign guest.
What is it, jambas? The meat from the area of hips.
Hips?
Yeah.
Wow. So much.
Don't be afraid, sheep's hips.
There's so much fat. There's so much fat on it.
Must try them.
I wonder, when is it acceptable for me to get up from this table?
In the askhara. Yeah, askhara.
Нэг асах байж мэдэнс дэрхананд. Амин намын удай ундасын. Мөн жолна бастасын. Асымызга амандык берсин. Басымызга амандык берсин.
The eldest man gave his blessings and everyone ran their hands over their faces. That meant that we could get up. Everyone finally got up from the table.
Nick, I'm so full.
Did you like the kordak?
Yeah, kordak was great. So good. I'm so full. I can't eat another bite.
We'll show it.
We were ready to move on, but after 15 minutes, we were invited back into the dastarkhan again.
No tea. Maybe after we ride a horse, maybe we'll have tea after.
Hello, guys. Come on, let's have tea.
Tea?
Yeah.
You're joking.
No, that's a joke.
I'm so full. Can you
As it turned out later, the Kazakhs' guest meal consists of 3 parts. The third stage was tea drinking, which mainly consists of tea and sweet dishes. In some regions, the guest lunch has 4 stages. Well, no matter how many times the guests were invited to the table during some kind of a toy or other significant event, to refuse a treat meant that you would offend the owner of the house. I wanted to express my respect for the cordial and hospitable host and thank them for their generosity, kindness, nobility, and the delicious dastarkhan, and also to pass it up.
Thank you very much, but we were very full. And the food was delicious. Delicious food. But thank you.
We should probably go. We'll have a walk and come back later.
Can you explain to him that?
Okay, we'll be waiting. Goodbye. When it comes to the traditions of a particular people, of course one cannot but mention the Kazakh rituals and games associated with creating a family. I was very interested in this question, especially since I had to pass a certain test to become a Jigit. However, I could not even imagine what kind of test it was, but I'll tell you more about that later.